Hello, and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time, on Plugin Along, we continued with our goal of eliminating TitanBar's hard-coded list of currencies. However, we also discovered a design mistake. We were using image IDs to refer to currencies, but we discovered those are not unique enough to distinguish between different currencies in our wallet. So, today we're going to try to redesign ourselves out of this problem. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions, be they about plugins specifically or LOTRO in general. That's all good. Let me go ahead and share my desktop here. And here we go. Okay, so if you are not already familiar with TitanBar, TitanBar is a plugin that allows you to pin different pieces of information on your screen, in this case on the top of the screen. And in this case, we are monitoring our various currencies in the game. The problem, TitanBar had a fixed list of currencies that you could use in this way, and TitanBar had to be updated to include new currencies. And if you wanted a currency that other people maybe didn't want, for instance, maybe you really want to track marigolds, but the developers of TitanBar don't want you to be able to track marigolds, then you just weren't going to be able to do that. So the whole point of this redesign is to make it so that the developers of TitanBar do not need to add new currencies. You can just pick things out of your wallet and add them. The reason we were using the image ID of a currency is because that's the only language independent thing that you can get out of the wallet. Everything else is either not helpful in distinguishing what the currency is, or it's language specific. And unfortunately, that's not going to work. There's just too many collisions with image IDs. Now, there are some collisions with item IDs, item names that I wasn't expecting. I've gone ahead and pre-generated a file for us to look at what this would look like. This is a lookup between the localized item name and its internal ID. In this case, these are all expressed as decimal numbers. We could also do these as hex numbers. Maybe that would make a little bit more sense. But we can see the broken Honorian pauldrons are internally item ID this. But we can also see some yellow highlighting up here. That's because the Lua parser, the Lua extension, is parsing through this and warning us that we have identical entries. So there are a couple of different marks of triumph, for instance, and a couple of different mark of victory. They refer to two different item IDs. It gets even worse. There used to be the task upgrade task limit +1 item. For whatever reason, when it went into the wallet, there were 5 different versions of that, all with the same name, but with different item IDs. And I assume that meant that if you acquired more than one of them, they might even show up as separate entries in the wallet. However, currently those show up as inventory items. So I think these are not a concern for me, the upgrade task limit, because if anyone still has those, cool, but they're not getting any more of them. So tracking them isn't important to me. So to reduce the number of parsing warnings that we get, we might go ahead and just eliminate this altogether from this file. Now the other ones, the mark of victory, I'm not sure what that is, but I want to say maybe it's to do with the Angmar battles. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up LOTRO.com, LOTRO-wiki.com, and go take a look at Mark of Victory. Mark of Victory is a reward for recompleting epic quest instances at the Moria Reflecting Pool in the 21st Hall. Fascinating. But why would there be 2 different versions of them? All right, well, let's look at the other one. Mark of Triumph. All right. You can receive a Mark of Triumph for revisiting the epic book instances starting with book 4. Visit the Sage of Eriador at the Reflecting Pools and accept the quest you want to revisit. Every quest has a cooldown for 5 days. After finishing the instance, revisit the Sage to get your mark. It sounds vaguely familiar. Have I done this in Rivendell? I have done this in Rivendell. Oh, interesting. And then you can exchange that for stuff and things. 10 marks for a barrel shard? Oh my goodness, that is not a favorable exchange rate. Whew. Maybe once upon a time that was a great way to get barrel shards, but not anymore. Huh. Fascinating. Okay, so this was a thing in play for Shadows of Angmar and Mines of Moria expansions. Huh. This is this thing still active? This could have you could get a ruin out of this. It says. I'm sorry, a relic. Or Barrowbury. This is a mechanic I just haven't interacted with very much. Okay, well, I am curious if the items, the two different item IDs, actually resolve to anything meaningfully different or not. So let's pull up our reference here. So this Mark of Triumph. Let's come on in here. We have the name equals Mark of Triumph. So we're going to go ahead and pull that off, and then we're going to search for the other one called Mark of Triumph. No, those don't look too different, do they? Let's make that wider. Now we'll just go ahead and word wrap it. Okay, the icon is identical, so we wouldn't be able to use the icon to distinguish between these two different item IDs. Name's the same, level's the same. The description? Yeah. Is really everything the same? Let's find out. No, something else is different here. Okay. Okay, the description is slightly different. Well, the description resolves to a separate key. Let's see. If we can't sort out if there's something different with those descriptions, just to satisfy our curiosity. Okay. Fantastic. So we would be able to distinguish these based off of their description. Interesting. A small ribbon denoting your participation in battle that helped hold back the encroaching shadows of Angmar, or a small ribbon commemorating your triumph in a battle defending the peoples of Middle-earth. Alright, which one's in the wiki? Peoples of Middle-earth. Okay. I'm going to make an arbitrary decision that we're just going to exclude the one, the older one, for right now. And the way we're going to do that is this file's actually being generated. Oh, hey. So Gosi in chat said hello a while back. Hello there. We're going to go ahead and exclude one each of the marks of triumph and the marks of victory. And we're going to do that by modifying how this file is generated. This is an auto-generated file. And we're going to come on in here and we're going to go ahead and say if paper item.id equals this, continue. And actually, what we want to do is bar items to skip equals new list int, and we'll actually put it in there. And that way, if items to skip contains paper item.id, then we can do the continue. Cool. What's up? Can't convert long to int. Well, let's make that a list of long then. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and regenerate this. Cool, and we can see now we just have the mark of triumph that we wanted and not the other one. Was that correct? People's Middle Earth, that was this one, which was this one, which is 720. Great. Okay. To resolve the other one, Mark of Victory, I actually kind of want to do just the same thing. We're going to come on in here. Wait. Wrong place. So, one of them is here. And the other one is here. And so we're going to come on in and grab that description. Grab this. And then grab the other description. And just check the wiki and see what does it think. Denoting a victory in Moria can be exchanged by the sage. Denoting a victory in Moria. Okay, so we want the second one here. So we're going to go ahead and exclude this first one here. Coming back in, we'll add that to the list of IDs. Regenerate. Coming back in. Okay, so Mark of Triumph, we only have one of them. And then we come on down to the upgrade task limit +1. And actually, for this one, I was curious. I haven't looked in the wiki yet, but I am curious if the history of this extends back to when it used to go into your wallet. So if we view the history of this, the first entry was back in February 2011. And of course, with any wiki, you can kind of step back through time. And early entries of these pages generally are pretty information light. Yeah, okay, not a lot of information. Cool. So, what I'm interested in here is to go ahead and pull these out. And we can see these aren't sorted by alphabetical order or anything, and that could be a nice thing to do to ourselves as we're generating this output. But what we can see here is that there are 5 of them, and what I really care about is, do they correspond or are they different to what's being rewarded in the deed? So let's do a quick search. I would appear not. Let me go ahead and grab, let's see, lore, deeds, yes please. Cool. Busy bee. Gives a reward of the upgrade task limit. Okay. This is up-and-comer, go-getter, hotshot, busy bee, eager beaver. Awesome. These all reward this one, which is none of those. Oh, do I just exclude them all? I feel like the answer is no, because if you do have any of them in your wallet, it'd be nice to see that reflected. So I think we just arbitrarily choose one of them. In that case, we'll choose the latest one that was added, and go ahead and exclude the rest of these. I could also have gone with the earliest one. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here, but pick one of the ends, either the first one or the last one. That makes the most sense to me. Now, we're starting to get to a point where we're going to want some documentation of why we're excluding things. So we're going to go ahead and transform this into a multi-lined thing. And this was the upgrade task limit +1. This one was something something. I do not remember, which is why we want to write it down. Mark of victory. Okay. Duplicate mark of victory. Duplicate upgrade task limit ×1. And this one was the duplicate mark of something else. Oof. Yeah, I don't think that's a good way to find it. Mark of triumph, right next to it. Awesome. So we're documenting for later what these items are, why we're excluding them. But for now, we'll just go ahead and regenerate. And coming on in here, and then as the Lua extension parses this for syntax warnings and errors, we will see we no longer have any of those duplicates. And what we can do is we can pop open the German. Ooh, we can see we want to go ahead and fix some of these. This right here, we want to go ahead and hoist that in. So that we don't have that \Q showing up for German. Fantastic. But we are seeing a bigger piece. Grosser Fisch? What is that? Big fish. I'm used to the Dutch fish, which is token, versus vis, which is fish. Okay, so the big fish. There are 2 of those. Fascinating. What's the second one correlate to? Here, I'm going to go ahead and copy these out. In fact, done with that, done with that. Okay, don't need that anymore. So we have 2 bigger fish in German. What's going on? Okay, so it's big fish for one of them, and the other one? Large fish. Fantastic. Oh, that hurts. Because those are actually different things, although I don't know that they matter. What are those for? Is large fish not really a thing anymore? Okay, I'm going to make the executive decision that this large fish, or grosser fish, is not actively in use. So we're going to go ahead and exclude it. Trillian says there's a quest at the pond at Farmer's Fair. Is that for the big fish or the large fish? Because they both resolve to grosser fish in the German. My apologies for the pronunciation. But in English, big fish and large fish are 2 different things, and one of them, I've already forgotten which, is okay. So large fish which is the großer Fisch, that it does not seem to be active. Whoops, sorry about that. So rather than try to support them both, one of them doesn't seem to be active anymore, so just easier not to do it. And just for consistency, if it's not going to be in one language file, we're not going to have it in any of the language files. Well, hello, chat. We have a raid from Liam H. coming on in. So, welcome to Plugin Along. This is a stream about LOTRO plugins where we are looking at how the coding underneath those plugins happens. If that's of interest to you, stick around. If you have any questions, stick around. We're not going to be doing much gameplay. We're just hanging out here with our goose on... Goose or Swan? Goose. Up in Dol Amroth, and we're looking at code. So, that's what's going on here. But yeah, welcome. All right, so the German version of this file now no longer has any errors. So we're going to go look at... Yeah, Tularian, you have a großer Fisch in your wallet. Exactly. And that's almost certainly the equivalent of the big fish that is actively in use for the pond Farmers Fair quests. But I think it's fantastic that they looked at large fish and big fish and were like, same German word, große is fine. And it is. But it feels like one of big and large is bigger than the other, right? You could just do groß, groß and grosser. I don't know. They had options, but on their end, on the LOTRO side of things, there's no harm in duplicating the name of something because internally they're not using that name. That's just how it gets displayed to you. But it's kind of annoying from a plugin developer's standpoint. Exactly, Glanel. Big, bigger, biggest. German has the same ability to do comparatives and superlatives. They didn't both have to be bigger. Oh well. But that's okay. So now we're going to go look at the French version of this. And, we do have some duplicates as well. Looks like the small fish is having its day here. Petit poisson. Though I apologize for my pronunciation because the word for fish and the word for poison are very close and I'm almost certainly going to confuse them. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing though. We're going to go ahead and look and see which one of these is actively used in stuff. Like there's lots of translations for that one, but let's look and see if we can find better results for this number. And here we can see quests are involving it, and so this is the active number. So we want to go ahead and exclude the other one, and I am curious what the translations for that are, what's going on there. So this is going to be, whoops, which one are we excluding? 9217. Wait, I thought that's the good one. Nope. Okay, that's the good one. So what do we have here? Coming back into here. Oh no, that's not where I want to be at all. Okay, so we have, this is small fish, and this one is tiny fish, puny fish. Fantastic. Okay, so we want to go ahead and exclude 927, which is small fish, which equals puny fish. Oh, duplicate of in French and seems inactive. Okay, so petit poisson, which is duplicate of puny fish in French and seems inactive. So we're going to go ahead and exclude that one. And again, if it's not going to be present in one, I feel like don't include it in any of the languages. That's fine. Keeps them in sync. And we can't have an inconsistency in our save files that way. Okay, so what do we have? Nope, I keep looking at the wrong window. That's the one. What do we have? So we've rescanned this file. Oops. And we're no longer seeing any conflicts here. Excellent. Same thing with the German file, no duplicate keys. And of course, English was the first one we were looking at, and no duplicate keys there. I'm catching up on the German in chat there. Iglano says, puny is more like insignificant if you ask me, not even worth catching. Yeah, and I think that's the whole point. At the pond when you were doing I assume these are for the Pretty Fishy quest. Is that the one? Fishy. Something fishy? Very fishy, very fishy. I assume those are happening for fishy, very fishy. Well, there's easy, simple, possible, tricky, unlikely. Nope. If they happen in this one, then it's not referenced there. Okay, one of the fishing quests anyway. Cool. Okay, so we now have a list of things that we can find in the... I grabbed the things, big fish, little fish. You're probably right. One of these days, I would like to complete Fishy, Very Fishy, so it's always on my mind, but I think the numbers are against me. Whoops. Big fish, little fish. Gotta spell fish right. Big fish, don't catch little fish. Yep, but that resolves to puny fish. Fantastic. Okay. Neat. So I'm of two minds. On the one hand, I think it is very funny to have a quest that just can't be done by the numbers. But on the other hand, it is possible, though probably not likely, that you could code in an extra layer on top of fishing that takes into account position, time of day, the graphics that happen when you are fishing. Do you see a fish bobbing at the lure? It is possible, though probably not likely, that you could have a Fishy Very Fishy quest that takes into account more information about the state of your client than other fishing activities. So it's always in my head that it is possible, though not very likely, that you could potentially influence your luck at that by changing variables. Where are you standing? What time of day are you fishing? That kind of thing. So I don't think they did that, probably, but they could have done that. And the fact that they could have done that and have made what is otherwise a statistically impossible quest to complete a quest that is possible with a reasonable amount of attempts. Like, you know, maybe you won't do it in one, but you could do it in 10 or 20 attempts, but you wouldn't need thousands of attempts. So yeah, the reality is it is probably just a 1 in a million quest or worse, and that's fine. But the fact that they could have incorporated more, and thus for someone who finds out what that pattern is could have made it a possible quest, gnaws at me, because I know they didn't do it, probably, but they could have. Super frustrating. Eglano says, so basically what you're saying is that something fishy is going on in your head. Yeah, like I'm stuck on it. Like, on the one hand, it's funny to make a quest that is just like, you know, you can't complete this. Don't even bother wasting your time. On the other hand, it's funnier to make a quest that sounds like that, but does have a win condition. Eglano says, it does work that way in-game, though, as you have fish only obtainable in Lake Town, for instance. This is true. So, as you say, location is already a mechanism that can be taken into account to determine what you fish up when you fish it up. So, there's already a mechanism in the code for it, which is why this is so frustrating. Jerry says, hello, after so many years I've installed LOTRO, or am installing LOTRO at this moment. I'm getting flashback memories. Well, welcome. If you have any questions about the current state of the game, feel free to toss them into chat. Some of the things I know, especially if it's related to minstrels or hobbits, some things I know much less of. They recently revamped Lore Master, for instance, and I don't understand what's different. Delirium says, I tried to use location, but at any location I got a bad fish on the first try. So I have a spreadsheet. I don't actually know where it is. Jerry says, no need. I need to find Shek community again in game. Well, awesome. I know there's a lot of European players on Evernight, and I know people also pay attention to the forums at forums.lotro.com. So good luck. No, Eglano says, Lore Master is playable solo again, which is a huge improvement. Awesome. Yeah, so Tellurian, I started a spreadsheet to try and track, you know, what do I feel like I'm getting any different results based off of different starting positions for the different 10 fish groupings within the Fishy Very Fishy quest. So, okay, try at the dock. You know, do that across a couple of characters, you know, five or 10 times. Okay, move to a different location. Do I feel like I'm getting better or worse? And the problem is, you need a lot of attempts to start seeing any sort of patterns with that. And most festivals, I just don't have the time or energy to do that more than a couple of times. But yeah, it gnaws at me. So I don't expect to ever learn the full truth of Fishy Very Fishy unless I crack the code and I'm able to like do it repeatedly on multiple characters or something. So I don't expect to ever learn, like, if anyone at SSG still knows the truth of that quest, I don't think they're going to like spill the beans anytime soon. Maybe if LOTRO ever shuts down, they'll let us know if it was ever actually possible. But I think it's such a simple yet intriguing thing, right? Like, is it impossible? Would they do that? I mean, they would, but would they? Okay, so we have a way to look up, based on text, an item ID. So, right now, we're looking at a wallet item's image ID, and what we want to do is switch that to use this lookup to get an item ID. Except, we still want to be forward-looking. So if TitanBar finds something in your wallet that isn't in this list, we need to do something sensible in two ways. We need to be able to save information about it so that we can let you pin it to the taskbar, the TitanBar that you put in the tooltip, know what's going on. And when TitanBar is updated to where we do have an item ID for that, we need to be able to update the save file to take that into account. Silent Strider asks, so do you know much about the LI system, in this case the legendary item system? I know probably enough to answer some basic questions, and I don't have an end gamer's perspective on the system. So if you're looking for like micro optimizations, I'm not a great person to ask, but if you're like, what is going on here? Yeah, I could definitely answer questions there. So yeah, toss them out. We'll see how nitty gritty it is. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to walk forward with this file and see if we can't transform our use of image IDs into item IDs. Bearing in mind that if we don't have an item ID, we'll probably just save off with the name of the thing in the wallet. and then the next time we do a update, we can do something about that. And we might even be able to write that code once so it can scan through all of this. Now, well, we wouldn't want to do that every time on startup. We'll probably just hard code new entries into an update table or something. I don't know. We'll take a look at that. Okay. So, well, silent starter. Now I'm curious what your question is. Type faster. No, it's okay. Okay. So, let's go into our to-do file. And actually, let's go into our source control and figure out if we are if we have a clean working directory. Sound Starter says, just came back from level cap 120. Everything has changed. Question is, I made my LI at level 131. Do I need to change out all the traceries to level 141? Now seeing I am 143. Okay. So, when you are looking at your legendary item, and you can either open it up by dragging the item over onto your little flame, or you can hold shift and double click the item, and this is the same interface to open up something that has sockets. So if I want to look at the sockets on this item, shift double click also works, or drag it over the flame. When you hover over each of your traceries, you're going to see, in fact, I'm going to peel this off here, you're going to see a minimum level and a maximum level. As you level up, your traceries will eventually fall out of usability, and there'll be a little red border around the tracery to show that it is inactive in that slot. It is not giving any of the effects that it is showing because you are too high level for it. It could just as well not be there. At that point, you want to do one of two things. You will either simply overwrite it with something that is a higher level, possibly the same thing, maybe you want to change it out. You can also use a tracery removal, what's it actually called? Tracery reclamation scroll. You can, if you wanted to save that for some reason, you could use a tracery reclamation scroll to pop that thing out. Now, these things are bound to account, so if you wanted to toss it off to a lower level character instead of repurchasing it for ancient script, you could use a tracery reclamation scroll to first pop it out, toss it into your shared storage for a different character, and then put a tracery into that slot. But the essence is, it is effectively not there, and you need to put something better in that space. The level ranges for each of the traceries, you can find this over on the wiki. So if you head on over to the wiki, I'm going to guess it's under traceries. Or tracery. Cool. So you are level... Okay, so you made your level... your item at 131. If you were making it with tracery tier 14s, those appear to have a level range of 131 to 150, so those should all still be active, though not quite as powerful as the tier 15 traceries that you could swap in place of the 14s. If you made any of them with tier 13s, you're currently level 143, you said. So anything that was in there as a tracery tier 13 would have that red border and would not be active. So you'll want to just go through and double check that the current tier of each one of them. You can't see it easily looking from here, although there's correlation to the enhancement range. But if you hover over each one of them, in the top left of that tooltip, you will see a little number. That's the tier of the tracery. Okay. Let me know if that was the actual answer to the question you were asking. So, do remember, I think you were here recently enough that you have these version 2 legendary items. Whenever you are dealing with these, go ahead and put in the higher level tracery first, and only after you've done that, worry about using enhancement runes to upgrade the enhancement level of that slot. Because there's a minimum enhancement level for each one of these, and you can get kind of an upgrade to this number for free, depending on where you're coming from and where you're going to. So upgrade these first. Like you can see, for instance, nope, not a good example. I have probably actually upgraded some of these slots. But if I were to put in a tier 5 or something here, that number would almost certainly raise from 175. And then double check if you need to reforge, go to your legendary item forge. If you can reforge, and pay attention to whether you unlock any new slots when you do it. The wiki will tell you specifically what reforge points you will get those slots, but sometimes the easiest thing is to just reforge and see what happens. Just remember, if you want to change the name of your legendary item, you've got to do it when you're reforging. So don't just blaze through that UI unless you're like, oh, I'm definitely good with the name of this thing. All right, a plugin question. Is it possible to code a plugin that allows more colors on the quest tracker and thus on the mini-map, instead of having to have multiple quests of the same color on the map? Short answer is plugins do not have a mechanism. Oh, I don't have any quests tracked. That's funny. Plugins do not have a mechanism to interact with the this user interface here or the quest tracker itself over here. Skins, on the other hand, might. I wouldn't hold out a lot of hope for skins having the ability to affect this, but they're the only thing I can think of that would. Just as a general rule, a lot of the UI elements are skinnable, but aren't necessarily influenced by a plugin. Now, the one thing that I know a plugin can do, because I wrote this, is you can install something called the opaque quest tracker, and this has nothing to do with your question, but if you have difficulty reading the text of your quest tracker on a busy background, let's see if we can find something like that. Yeah, I guess the flagstones down there are pretty busy. If you have difficulty reading that, and we're all going to have visual problems at some point or another in our life, then the opaque quest tracker is just designed to give you an opaque window with specification that you choose. So you decide how opaque it is, and you also choose what that background color is as well. So if I want it to be kind of a reddy color or something like that. So this is not specifically your question, but it just reminded me that is a thing you can do. And there's a little lock button up there that, so that you can't move it around accidentally. So for anyone who otherwise struggles to read the text in their quest tracker, a friend of ours we were playing with was having that problem. And I was like, hey, other things in the game, like our chat window, do have that ability. Let's just make a plugin to solve that. Jerry says, that duck. I have a soft spot for geese, and I don't see them often enough in real life, and so I like having them as a pet in LOTRO. I also like this turtle, but it's just too low. Like, I want to be able to see the city, and so the goose is tall enough where I can still see the city. All right. Yeah, Glenna was also commenting on Silent Strider, recommending upgrading those traceries. It sounds like it wouldn't be necessary, but it would be a welcome addition. Silent Strider, if you didn't interact with it very much, remember that there is a legendary item reward track. Anything that you do that accumulates legendary item experience, quests, or mostly quests, or even defeating enemies, will add to this. And this bar helps you get things that help make your legendary item better. Specifically, you'll get enhancement runes, you'll get traceries, which you can either use or deconstruct with the Flame of Alkmaar to get more ancient script, which you can use to buy the traceries that you want. There'll even be some of the tokens that you can get for the 3rd and 4th tier versions of those. I want to say incredible, but that's not right. The cyan and the orange, something in the legendary. And so pay attention to this bar. We only have 1 week left on it, so don't worry about maximizing it unless you really like playing a lot of LOTRO. That's totally fine. But just remember to claim the things that you earn on here before it expires. Otherwise, they go poof at the end of the time period. So we're always on Discord and our various communities being like, get your stuff. It's going away in 2 days. Make sure you click those buttons. Because it won't auto claim for you, so you want to make sure you do that. So, like right here, I have 51 of the you've hit the end, get a little extra boxes to claim, and if 8 days goes by and I don't do that, they go poof. That makes me sad. So do go ahead and be sure to claim whatever. That should help you kind of bootstrap your way into better legendary items as well. Ancient Script is a little hard to come by outside of the legendary item reward track. At least it feels to me. It feels like I kind of struggle, and then I cash out a whole reward track, and I'm like, I've got too much Ancient Script. And then I spend it all, and I'm like, oh, I've got to wait until the next track starts, and then I can earn more. Anyway, so be aware of that. And if you already were, anyone else who's watching, also be aware of that. Anyone else is laughing at the goose. Moved to where I live, a nearby town has a park that has so many geese you can't even walk on the paths due to their excrement. That's fair. There's a pair of nesting swans that come back to our village and apparently have done so long enough that there is a fixed sign and barricades that they use to be like, hey, people stay away, there's nesting swans here. Like it's a big metal sign that they attach to the barricades. And they just come and they're there for a couple of months and hopefully they nest successfully and then they leave. And then the next year they come back and the village puts out the fence and the sign. And it was really cool. They're massive, and for whatever reason, one of them just likes to come on out to the bicycle path and just sit down next to it. And then people will bicycle path, and he'll be like, like not actually attacking, but just like you're in my range. And it's like, dude, you came here. Like you've got a whole body of water over there. Stop sitting next to the bicycle path. Silent Starter. I just found out about that the other day. 101 is the cap. So the way legendary item reward tracks are usually structured, and this is the 10th one, so this is the general pattern, is that there are special things at 25, 50, 75, and 100. So at 25 of this one was a cosmetic item, and I've just scrolled past it. The coffer of the handheld teapot, so you can run around holding a teapot. It's cute. The default holding position is spout down, though, which is a little weird, but that's fine. At 50, there is a coffer of the slate jerboa, which is a cosmetic pet. At 75, there was a legendary coffer of Umbari furnishings, which I'm a little afraid to crack open because I'm afraid it's going to be like 10 more things in my inventory I don't have room for. But they're going to be Umbari themed furnishings of some type, and the wiki has a list of what you'll get, so you don't have to open it to find out. And then at 100, there was the legendary coffer of the maned lion. So, if you like having a maned lion with you, that's how you get that. We're going to go back to the goose, though. Slightly less threatening. But they don't want to penalize you for maxing out the bar. So after that, there's sort of this artificial box 101. It doesn't take quite as much legendary item experience to fill up that bar. And when you get to the end, you've just earned another one of these bonus boxes, and it goes. And so I would say the rewards from box 101 tend to be a little bit less awesome than some of the cool things you can get on this bar. But it's still an excellent source of ancient script. It's still a good source of enhancement runes, and so there's absolutely no harm in doing this. But I wouldn't spend extra items on it. Like in the game, we still have these heritage runes. I wouldn't spend heritage runes, getting extra 101 boxes. I would use those. I'm personally saving those up in case there's just a reward track where I don't have the time in real life to play the game, but I do want to get some sort of reward, and I'll hope that these get me there or get me part of the way there. So I wouldn't worry about spending extra effort on these compared to the main bar, but they're a nice little bonus as far as I'm concerned. Is that stuff per your level? Asked Silent Strider. I think what you're asking is, are the rewards different based off of the level of your character? And if so, the answer is not really, except that I think for some of the boxes of traceries, What tier tracery comes out of it is seems sometimes dependent on the level of the character that opens it. If you're level 100, you're probably going to get a tier 4 tracery. If you're level 50, you're probably going to get a tier 1 tracery. That's the impression I get. But then again, some of these say level 86 incomparable. Those might be hard-coded what comes out of them. So I guess I would say for those, either find someone who knows a little bit more about that, or open those tracery boxes on the character whose level you want them to correlate to. But I think it is safe to pull them off of the Legendary Item Reward track on whatever character you want them on. In general, they all will come out as boxes. In fact, we'll go ahead and claim one right now. If I go ahead and claim this box, it just appears in my inventory. It is bound to account, so I can pop it into shared storage or send it off in mail. And if I open it, I get a coffer of ancient script. And this is just going to be 50 ancient script. And as we can see on TitanBar, which is theoretically the subject of this, that's 50 ancient script. Awesome. You have a maximum of 10,000 ancient script. And as we can see, I'm almost at 9,000. Yeah, hopefully that's a reasonable answer to that. Alexandrian says, let's talk about legendary servers. Did they change legendary servers so that wraiths don't spawn in solo instances? Oh, I don't actually know. If anyone else has been running on Mordor or Angmar, I'm behind on the chat here, so maybe someone's already answered. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything saying that they have changed that. However, wraiths really strike me as kind of a complementary system to landscape difficulty, and landscape difficulty does get suppressed in things like solo instances. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me if that was true, but I haven't heard either way. Good point. Agatha says there are many things you can't get from this repeatable tracery, and that kind of just blends in what I was saying. It's a little bit less awesome than the things you get on the bar. It says can't get tracery tokens, for instance, only sealed traceries. And yes, the traceries and the tokens scale when they open. Thank you for confirming that, Agatha. And Aglano confirms if there's a level in the name, they're fixed, otherwise they scale. So if I search here for tracery, oh, I must have pulled them all off somewhere else. That's excellent. Well, somewhere I have a bunch of boxes of traceries. Probably on one of my other characters because I was running out of space. Okay. Agatha says the ones from the reward track are never level band specific. Maybe those are from completing deeds then. Aglano thinks that they only lowered the rate at which the Shadowy Wraiths spawn. Awesome, thank you for tossing that in. And Real Tough says they do spawn in solo as well. Agatha says landscape difficulty is not suppressed in solo instances, only 3 mana larger. I thought that in some epic storyline instances that it was also suppressed there. Maybe that's because those inherently support more than 2 characters or something. Oh, okay, good. Agatha says, and some epic story instances too. Good. I was beginning to doubt myself. Awesome. Yes, Agatha points out if you have activated a delving, your landscape difficulty will be suppressed. So if you activate a tier 1 delving and you were running on tier 7 landscape difficulty, it's actually going to make it easier, I think. I often run on tier 3, and if I'm in a group, we'll run sometimes on tier 7, but my regular is tier 3 because I don't want to drop below that. And I find activating a tier 7 delving is a little bit harder, but activating a tier 3 delving or less definitely feels easier. Cool. I haven't encountered a lot of wraiths on Mordor. I made a character and I played around a little bit there, but I'm under-equipped, so I haven't done a lot of adventuring yet. And so I was curious just how bad they are. So I went into Angmar with basically starter equipment and fought enough wargs until I spawned something. Actually, I had to go further north. The level 42 wargs weren't doing it for my level 50 character. But I found some level 45 Angmarum and defeated them, enough of them. Eventually, a wraith spawned, and it was definitely more powerful than I was. But the landscape mobs, super easy, even with an undergeared character. I didn't have any problem with them. But the Wraith came out, and I just didn't have probably enough finesse, and definitely not enough will, and my Minstrel just wasn't able to do enough damage before they took me out. So it was fun to give that a try. Oh yes, but I did have landscape difficulty on, and I realized after the fact that I didn't mean to have that on. I wasn't trying to complete those deeds on that character, so I should try it again without landscape difficulty to see how the Wraiths are. Silent Starter says, do you know if they plan on raising level cap anytime soon? Just trying to see before I start end gaming my character. What I tend to do when I'm curious about that is I go look at the road maps that have been put out, in this case by Orion, over on LOTRO.com. I'll put a link to this in chat. And oftentimes the text in this will kind of, or people will, they'll have discussed on streams, and people will have information about that as well. They'll have information about whether they kind of expect the level cap to go up or not. Agartha points says no level cap this year. It seems like the general pattern is they do something big in the autumn, but that the level caps going up seem to be an every 2-year kind of thing. So it would be weird for them to change on that and to actually do a level cap increase. Now, I assume you're talking about standard servers. If you're on one of the legendary servers, of course, those run on a specific schedule. So if you go over to the LOTRO wiki, look at legendary server, we can see that Treebeard last updated in the end of May, beginning of June, and is running at about every 5 to 6 months. So we can reasonably expect sometime in the November-December timeframe that we will go up to the next content, which is the level 105 stuff. So on those servers, the level caps are going to keep changing, but on the standard ones, not this year. Interesting. Agartha says they've said Angmar/Mortar will be on a variable schedule. Oh, nice. Aglana points out that it's on the event schedule. Oh, I don't want the 2023 one. Doesn't matter. They reuse the same page anyway. Awesome. Thanks for reminding me that exists. December 4th. Awesome. Put that on your calendar. Nice. And then presumably once it actually happens, someone will go ahead and add that to the wiki as well. But we can see that was the beginning of June to the just after the beginning of December, which does put it at about a 6-month gap. I imagine they have internally been trying to shift a little bit further away from the Christmas/New Year time, because that's a terrible time to change anything in software land ever. Because if you change something right before you're supposed to go on vacation, it will probably not work and you'll be sad. But if you change things with weeks to spare, then everything's fine. It's just how it works. Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, Silent is on a standard server. Great. I am in chat. Says you're new at the game and need some time. Oh, on the server. Might be frustrating for old players. So I think there's definitely people who join a legendary server and then are like, I just finished everything. I want the new stuff. But I think a lot of people are there for the slower pace. If you wanted to have access to everything, you would be on a standard server. Legendary servers, by their design of releasing things periodically over time, are designed to attract people who want that kind of staged approach to the game. That's one of the reasons I'm on Treebeard, is the pace at which it is releasing that new content is about the pace at which I have the ability to complete all the things. So it's perfect. 6 months, I can complete most or all of the quests and deeds associated with that, get all the reputation maxed, get all the things that I'm looking for, run all the instances, and then by the end of that 6 months, I'm actually like, okay, I think I've done pretty much everything. Do I want to revisit anything? Is there anything I want to do? Cool, I've done it all. Awesome. New content. So it's staged very well for people who have about as much time as I do for LOTRO. But yeah, if you have more time, you're going to find a 6-month release schedule maybe a little bit long. And so when Treebeard first came out, I believe Honor was still active, but when that shut down, there was just Shadowfax. And if you weren't looking for a 2-month release schedule, then Shadowfax was way too fast. And so I assume Mordor and Angmar are going to keep on the same update schedule. But I would also assume they'll tend more to 3 or 4 month gaps instead of 6. And Egglanol in chat also says their guess is 3 to 4 months. So we're thinking the same there. Just because there's not much reason to do 6 months. People already have a 6-month release server. And I think Shadowfax was a very interesting experiment. But I suspect the population of Shadowfax was a little bit lower, except for people who just wanted to race through the combination of landscape difficulty and leveling to get those account-wide titles before landscape difficulty just came to all servers everywhere. That would be my guess. I wasn't on Shadowfax very often, but from what I heard, it didn't sound like... it was a heavily populated server. Iglano said Shadowfax runs at 60% XP, and I think you mean Treebeard. Yeah. Is it 60% or minus 60%? Let me go look at my, buffs, debuffs. Okay, so if you're on a difficulty level, that will counteract some of that. And 40%, so you're at minus 60%. However, if you happen to have some of the plus XP earrings that can come from various expansion purchases. So for instance, I have the Fateful Gundabad earring, I have the Fleet Merchant's earring, just because I haven't found something that I want to wear instead of them right now. Even though I'm not gaining any experience, I'm at the server cap. So yeah, Story Pace says minus 60%. You're only getting 4 out of every 10. But if you're at difficulty 3, and this is the maximum bonus you can put back into it from difficulty, they cap at 20% extra. It says gain on monster kills. And then you can also have the earrings that give you more experience gain on monster kills, crafting, and quest completions. And then apparently the gift to Umbar also gives a legendary item. Interesting. I like it. Oh, interesting. Egonal says, if you have the big Umbar package, you can run with 2 of their until level 140 earrings by doing a /reclaim. I will keep that in mind because that's pretty cool. And actually, that might be worth it even if we're not near 140, just because of that plus to legendary item bonus that isn't listed on the Gundabad? What do we have? No, okay, it is. It's just not separated out. That's weird. Oh. So, yes, you can offset a lot of that minus 60% by adding on these XP boosts, but it's still definitely a slower one because over on Mordor, when I had all these boosts and didn't have minus 60% experience, I found the leveling progress very different. I'm going to suggest they stack. Awesome. Well, if you have purchased any of the expansions and have those items, I definitely encourage using them when you're doing things that give you legendary item experience and you're still working on your reward track. If you swapped in some other earrings because they give better stats, totally understand, but you are potentially limiting your contribution to this bar, assuming those calculations are all happening correctly under the covers. Okay, awesome. Gallo says, I run with a level 131 and 141s myself. Well, that's the setup I have. But a streamer showed it off a few days ago. The stats are the same on the earrings. The only difference is the level lock. They also... Let's see. Mount and legendary item experience bonuses will not stack with other equipped item XP bonuses. Well, they claim that, so... presumably that's how they're calculating. The item provided diminishes statistical benefit after level 130 after 140. Okay, so it looks like having two of those would not necessarily help you with the LIXP. I guess they thought of that. Excellent. But it always depends on them doing the math right. Yeah, and then there's the Fateful Toolkit, which gives you extra bonus wallet items through a specific level. This one claims through Gundabad, which is level 140, which will make me sad if this character ever gets higher than that, because I like getting those extra. Okay, awesome. Well, I am caught up on chat. While any more of that comes on in, I'm going to glance my way back at code. McDonald says, I so wish that could be moved off my normal server and to Mortar. Best toolkit in the game. I wonder if someday there is going to be an equivalent to the Fateful Toolkit for purchase in the LOTRO store. I wouldn't imagine it will be cheap, but I would imagine that a lot of people would buy it. Okay. All right, image ID. So, a thing that I want to look on while in between talking to people in chat is looking at the API documentation to see what it is that we're calling for the wallet item image. Get image. So, .get image. I want to find all of that. Oh, colon get image. Ingala says maybe in the next expansion. I don't know. The Fate of Gundabad was, two expansions ago. And they continue to come up with interesting things to encourage us to splurge on an expansion where we might otherwise just get the base content. And the Fateful Toolkit was definitely splurge worthy. If you had the funds for it, it's a great quality of life improvement. Again, there's nothing game breaking about it, except possibly in the Enable Association runs. But just in general, it's a very lovely quality of life improvement. Okay, so any place where we're calling wallet item get image is now suspect. But we now have a new file called wallet items. And this is where we can get, instead of an image ID, we'll be getting an item ID. So we want to make sure we're including the correct file in probably our main. We should really just figure out where we're including anything else. Wallet items. Cool. So we can go ahead and import wallet items as well. Is glocale what I think it is? Cool. Perfect. Iguana says, I'd happily drop 1995 LP for a Fateful Toolkit in the store. Such a nice little item. Yeah, I would be strongly tempted. I don't play nearly as much on other servers as I do on Treebeard, but I play often enough on Laurelin and Crick Hollow, and maybe now Mordor, we'll see. I play often enough there that every once in a while I'm like, man, I could be getting slightly more landscape tokens if I just had that thing. We'll see. Oh yeah, I recently got the Mirkwood Patron's Luxuriant Cosmetics Coffer, and I'm a little afraid to open it because of how many things might spill out of it, but I'll go ahead. Oh, okay, that's not bad. The Patron's Luxuriant Wardrobe Cosmetics. That's the one I'm going to hold off on opening. The Mirkwood Movement Style Emote. All right, I'm not currently using Move Whimsy, but when I do, it looks like this. It's very whimsical. This is the moves underscore Merc. Okay, very stealthy. Excellent thing to use in Mirkwood. The Mirkwood Sentinel Steed. Cool. Let's go into my mounts and take a look at that. Merc, Merc, Merc. Fancy. That's very elven inspired. Alright, I can see that. Does it make anything when you move? Well, if it does, it's not showing up on the top of this building. We have the Mirkwood Milestone. Okay. Merkstone. Merc. No, Milestone. Milestone underscore Merc. And the Tome of the Mirkwood Saber Cat. Goodness. I have the power. Huh. Alrighty. Now, as for that milestone skill, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I am going to go ahead and start firing this off. So you smoke the pipe, smoke comes out, you get a wraith-like thing, and it envelops you and makes a sphere, and then you go poof. I gotta say that I think I'm going to stick with the whimsical one. I just like that tree so much. I'm not really a pipe person, but I could see if the pipe didn't bother you, that's nifty. All right, but we'll go back to Goose and Whimsy. Okay. God thinks they're very nice cosmetics. The only thing they don't like is the fixed quiver on the cloak, which looks weird on non-bow classes. Fair enough. When our group started running around in Gondor, I switched to this cosmetic shield that I think comes out of an anniversary present. The Reveler's Shield of the Odokil. Apparently there's a Reveler's Cloak of the Odokil. Interesting. I don't know where those came from, but I've got them. So the Reveler's Shield of the Odokil seemed like a good thing to switch into when we hit Gondor with our leveling group here on Treebeard. But I often will use just some sort of a backpack for my minstrel, because my minstrel definitely doesn't have a quiver. Oh, fantastic. Then I'll suggest getting 10 players into the Prancing Pony, all using the Merkstone Milestone, to really fog the place up. I can see that. Okay, and then this is the Patron's Luxuriant Wardrobe Cosmetics, which I do not want to deal with right now, but I do probably have enough room for it. I've got about 80 spaces in my wardrobe. All right, cool. So we're going to be importing for TitanBar the new wallet item lookup, which takes a name and gives you an item ID. And just to make sure we've got that right, we're going to go ahead and reload, and we're going to have an error message. Fantastic. Unable to resolve package. Well, yep, that would be a problem. Happen to TitanBar locale wallet items. Wallet items. I do not like how long it took to load that there. $1,001, $1,002, $1,003, 1004. Okay. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1000. Alright, it's taking a lot longer than I would like it to, and I'm concerned that this will be a performance dip for this feature. So in the back of my head is, how can we delay loading these until later? And that's something I'm thinking about for a number of the plugins. For instance, the dTracker plugin, I think, could be much more performant if it doesn't load most of the data until later. And Glenn wants shadow tokens on TitanBar as well. Yep, that is a goal. Absolutely. I wonder if they're... Oh, I don't have the updated data for 41, but once I do, they'll be baked in as well. We won't need the code that just looks in here and sees what's up. Glenn, if you haven't seen it, one of the things I'm working on... Yeah, we'll just stash and work. Let me come down to the other... No. Wallow window. There we go. So what I'm working on is an updated window that tracks better with your wallet. And so ideally you would just be able to search for whatever token, find the thing, and then select it. And so you won't be limited to the fixed list of items. It'll just be whatever, and if there's something in your wallet that TitanBar doesn't recognize, it'll just be unknown, but it'll still show up, and you'll still be able to pin it to TitanBar. That's the whole point of this series. Not just modifying TitanBar a little bit, but a massive overhaul in the wallet system so that we can arbitrarily add items that TitanBar has never even heard of. So that's what's up. Agano says, I play at 5120 by 1440, so TitanBar is showing almost everything it can track on the bar. Fantastic. That is a very wide resolution. Is it a wraparound monitor? My coworker has one of those, which is hilarious when he tries to share his screen on one of our video calls, because he's like, well, hang on, let me change my resolution. Otherwise, everything is super tiny on ours. Okay, so we're back to a different branch, different stuff. Okay. So, let's look at these places where we are calling, and oh yeah, don't actually care about those changes. And that change, just these. Let's go ahead and commit some of this. Added initial wallet item name to ID lookup. Cool. That is those and this. And hey, to do file changes, let's get that in there. All right, so we were doing a search for wallet item get image. That's currency callback is needed. So what we're looking for is the key, and it might be helpful to first consolidate how we get the key from an item, because right now we're using the image ID and we want to change that to this lookup table with the item ID. One could imagine that that could change in the future. I guess I can't imagine. That'd be a massive pain in the butt. It's probably not going to. But I would still like to change that to a function. I think so. So we're in a file called functions. That sounds great. Let's add a function. So function get currency ID from a wallet item, well, wallet item, and we're going to go ahead and say return 0, so that we can document this function. This is get the internal ID for a wallet item if it exists in our whatever I called that file, wallet items lookup table. This will be, in fact, let's make that a new line. This will be the item ID. If not, it will be the, what are we going to use? The name of the item, language dependent, and this will be updated. Is that good? Because most of the time this is going to be an integer, but sometimes it'll be a string, and is that annoying? I think the answer is yes, because I'd love to still be able to use that image ID, but I think we can't. I think we just have to, it's a number if we know about it, it's a string if we don't. Okay, we'll start with that. If not, it'll be the name of the item. To be corrected on a future TitanBar release. Glenel points out TitanBar still has shards as an option. They can't be used for anything any longer or even earned, so is there a reason to still track them? That's an excellent question. One of the things I would like to incorporate into that new wallet window that we were seeing is a deprecated option where it's off by default, so you don't see these things that don't matter anymore. You only see things that are kind of more actively in use. And then if you really want to be able to track a shard for whatever reason, you can do it. For instance, I've got 375 of them. No, I've got 17,000 of them. On Treebeard, a server which has never had Legendary Item version 1. You don't know how that works. So I would like to give players the option of doing it, but not penalize them in a performance-wise or a visual way if they don't want to see them. Yeah, Glenel says, I think I have around 199,000 of them on Laurelin. It makes no sense to me. Legendary Item version 2 came out before Treebeard reached Mines of Moria. I should not have a way to acquire shards. I definitely never had a way to spend shards, and I have 17,000 of them. Go figure. I don't know how that works. I don't know where what they came from as rewards, and here they are. So, get currency ID. We're going to return integer or string. Oh, string. Hang on. Nope. I think we want it to be like that. Okay. So, integer if it's unknown, item string otherwise. Okay, so what we're going to do is we assume this is not a nil wallet item. So we're going to go ahead and say local name, well, do we need the name? Let's not worry about the name for a second. Okay, we're going to go look at wallet items by category, indexed by wallet item dot, no, get name. Okay, so a local lookup equals this. If lookup, then, so if that was successful, if there was an entry by this thing's name, then we can go ahead and return, I think just lookup at that point. Yeah, that'll be, where'd that thing go? I'm going to close some of this. Okay, main. Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be nil or it's going to be an integer. Perfect. How do I tell this that this is an integer? I'm uncertain. That's okay. Otherwise, we will just return the name. And yeah, I want that name. So local name equals wallet item get name. So we'll swap that in here. And we will return the name here. Okay. Great. We didn't recognize the item by name. Okay. Now, this is potentially a problem for people who play with multiple versions of the client, but the place this is stored is actually a language-specific save file, which bugs me a little bit. And so I think it is a fine choice for right now. Okay, possibly for always. We have a function, get currency ID from a wallet item. It might be that we'll want a follow-on function that lets us get it from something else. But for now, from wallet item is great. So now that we have a get currency ID, it's called a key. All right, get currency key. So we're going to come on in here and say key equals get currency key from wallet item. And in fact, if we kind of ignore all of this and just return wallet item get image, then we'll have the identical functionality for these places, right? So key equals get currency key of item. Key equals get currency key of item. Well, item, yep, that's fine. Player wallet size, current item, this is a player wallet. We want to go ahead and get currency key of that thing. Nope. Don't press page down. And I don't know why that's in my maintenance file, but we'll come back to that. Oh, I do know why that's in the maintenance file. It's fine. Okay, so we have what will become the new function, but right now get currency key should be identical behavior. So if we make sure we've saved all and we come in and we reload TitanBar, it should not work any differently than it did. Awesome. Oh. Okay. Get currency key. We'll even mark this to do. Change from image to ID. What's next? Where do we talk about image ID? Image ID. Find this for me. Okay, we're going to say that these are indexed by get currency key. So let's make a kind of a list of things to check. Check all uses of this for image ID to item ID conversion. Okay, so that's a note for ourselves. Where else? Now there are other places we're using image ID, so we can't just take all of those. But, okay. And here we have this. And what we want to do is, so this needs to be updated to be item ID, not the key to item ID, not key to image ID. Cool. So that's a note for ourselves. And these two are both being used there. And then the rest of this is under track items, window. Don't need that. Okay. And then it wouldn't hurt to search for image ID with a space. And we can see that comment here as well. Yeah, we'll go ahead and mark that. And the comment includes item image ID. Once this is done, is that sufficient? Is that all we need to do? Were we that flexible in our design? I'm suspicious that I have missed something. And specifically what will be a pain is that the save file that I'm currently working on, in fact, let's go ahead and unload this so it writes out any changes. And then we'll go over to Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugin Data, Account Server Character, and then we can open up the settings file. And in here, we're currently using that value, and so this save file isn't going to work, but the only person who has this save file in this current way is me. So if I regenerate this from a pre-this version file, then if that lookup table is fixed, then we should have the item ID instead of the image ID. That sounds plausible. Let's give that a try. Let's give that a try. Okay, so we're going to begin with this version 1 to version 1.1 save file lookup table. Not even sure why I said version 1, because this feels like a version 2 change. But the old one didn't have a version at all, so maybe that's why I felt like that. All right. We're going to do it. We're going to commit ourselves to updating to version 2.0 save file. It is pretty incompatible. All right, so for this next thing, what we want to do is we want to take the list of image IDs and transform them into item IDs. I'm going to actually pull open a Sublime Text buffer here for us to work in instead. I think it might be a little bit easier. Okay. And what we want to do is go ahead and open up that that item ID. Let's see. And we'll be able to search in here. So, Mithril coin. Now there's only about 20 of these, so instead of trying to do anything more automatic, I think I'll just find them manually. Okay, so we have Mithril coin. I assume we only have one of those. We have an item ID of this. Actually, I say that, but I think I've already updated wallet items to be indexed by Mithril coin. All right, so oh, that's funny. Had I scrolled? I think I scrolled. Now, was that what we were finding on the other one? I think the answer is 991. Yes, it was. Okay. But this is the sort of the authoritative list that we want to be referencing. So I think that'll work best. Destiny. Destiny's not on here. Oh, that's fascinating because it's not an item. Fantastic. Note. Destiny isn't a paper item. Need to add it manually. Fantastic. It's funny because the TitanBar currency system pulls from a couple different things. LOTRO points, there's no interface to grab it. Destiny points is attached, or you reference it differently than all of the stuff in your wallet. And so it's actually merging together things from a couple of different places. Is Destiny shown here? Destiny's not even shown in your wallet. That's fantastic. But it is accessible via the API, so that's good. Okay, so Destiny points. Definitely glad we found that, but let's continue onward. And yes, shards, even though it doesn't need to be there, skirmish marks. Wait, why does it have skirmish mark marked as old? Oh, that's funny. We should update that output to give us the item ID because I think that will be informative. Let's come on in here and where are we? We are in wallet items, and that's the non-language UI. Okay, so we're in here. Let's find out item ID hex. Icon. There we go. Let's get that in there. Okay. Okay, confirm Destiny's not in there. Let's go ahead and check shard. Oh, fascinating. Why are these different? What am I seeing then? Festival token, right. The Yule Festival token should be this, which If we pop open calculator and go on down to decimal, paste that in, which is this. That's what we see over there. Okay, so Yule Festival. Okay, so we're getting something wrong for that image ID hex. Okay, that's good. But what on earth is icon coming from? Okay, icon. Okay, that's a default value. Okay. What is icon coming from? Icon ID. Fascinatingly something. Okay. Note to self, this is not correct. So we're going to deal with that later. Instead, fix me. Great, because that's not working. We cannot rely on that. Oh well. That's the nature of things. Okay, so Destiny is not in there. Great. Skirmish marks, that should actually probably just be mark, right? Okay, skirmish marks. Yeah, they're just called marks. That's funny. Okay. Okay. Well, we have a system. We'll just work on that for right now. So skirmish marks should actually be that. Note, these are mark in game, or marks in the plural. Mythical coin. Great, 991. That's what we want. Yule Festival token 449. Hitbolt token. Token of Hitbolt. Yeah. Mortar server just crashed, says Agartha. Oh no. Well, I know they stress tested the 64-bit server code, but sometimes there's nothing quite like actually having hundreds of people hammer away at the server in a way that just is hard to capture in a test environment. So I hope it comes up back up shortly. This is partly, I would guess, why they wanted to release a 64-bit server in a localized manner instead of just applying it to all the servers. Because if something does go wrong, not that people should necessarily be like, oh, that's fine, but there are fewer people impacted with a single, or in this case, two servers upgraded than there are if they just blanket like, okay, it's all 64-bit now, and then they have a bad week or two. So I appreciate that they're doing a scaled release with the intent that once any bugs that need to be ironed out are, then they do a wide-scale release. All right, we have our seal. Yep, Aglana also says, ouch. I'm curious if it's at all related to what was going on earlier or if it's something different. All right, what are these things called? Oh, LOTRO points aren't listed here. What are they called in the store? They're probably not an item. Let's mark that as probably not included also. Also LOTRO points. That being said, turbine points says Aglana. Yeah, maybe. Neither of those. They're called LOTRO points when they are rewards. There are quests with LOTRO point rewards? Fascinating. Okay, we're going to do this something different. Because, of course, we have a save file. We do have a save file. Let's grab that save file. LOTRO. Okay, we will assume that this is right. I'm not actually sure it is. But let's assume it's right. Okay. Oh, in fact, we can do the same for Destiny. Yeah, there's actually no API access to how many LOTRO points you have. So the way TitanBar gets around that is it just says, tell us how many points you have, and we will keep track of whenever you gain them. And if you spend them ever, it's up to you to update this value because we don't get an announcement in chat when you spend LOTRO points, just when you gain them. And in fact, that might not even be the complete picture. I doubt you see a monthly edition of whatever it is, 500 points in any sort of a chat. I think your account balance would just go up there. So TitanBar is destined to get out of sync if you are a subscriber or if you spend stuff ever in the store. But it's what you can do. But it does make me think that, hey, I can just use this file for all of them. Wait, that is the image ID. That's not right. I'm too many numbers. 411 yeah, okay. Can't do that. Okay, Amroth silver pieces. Stars of Merit, Star of Merit. because of course they're stored in a non-pluralized form. Central Gondor silver piece. Such a peculiar thing to be trackable. Gift giver's brand. There we go. Bingo badge. Anniversary. Nope. There we go. Moat of Enchantment. That's plural in here? Embers, figments, and moats. Alright, you can have 1 motes of enchantment. Figments. Fall Festival. Alright, almost there. Okay, so we still need those image IDs for Destiny points and for LOTRO points, but we'll be getting those differently. Where are we getting the image ID for Destiny points now? What a great question. Let's come on into the code. Destiny. Alright, we have a get currency. Get Destiny points is going to be a number. Cool. This is the image ID. But if there's no item ID, maybe image ID is best. Maybe. LOTRO points. Does it make sense to do that? Maybe. Let's check. So destiny points, if we come on in and look at that number, do we find it anywhere else? We don't find destiny. What about LOTRO points? Do we find that image ID anywhere else? Yeah. I guess there's one more place I could look. Okay, it was 2504 and then destiny. Okay, so I think those are not going to have any conflicts, so we'll be able to use them. So, wherever we were before, I've kind of lost track of it. Okay, that is in settings. So this table here, we want to go ahead and replace with this table. Okay. And this update, the currency is now indexed with an item ID instead of where possible, instead of a human readable key. Change old values to new and add placeholder text to make it more legible. Awesome. Yes. So that'll be okay. We're done with that. So what do we have? We have image ID, and we're just going to go ahead and say ID. Actually, let's do key, because that's what we're doing in other places. Oh, that's the old key. Old key, new key. Oh, yeah, let's do those one at a time. Okay, so image ID is going to be new key. And then key is going to be old key. But we want to find just those. Okay, so that hopefully makes this a little bit more sensible. Is the setting present with the old key? If it's present, then the setting's new key equals the old key. The old key equals nil. New key description equals old key. Okay, I feel like that's pretty readable. So, look at it needs updated. Okay, done. Comment includes, done. And this text is also, so that's done. Now, any place where we were using player currency, we want to go ahead and look that up. Because that should be indexed by the new thing now. All right, so yep, get currency key there. Player currency key is also working with that. Player currency key is get currency key. Awesome. Same thing here. Here, key is let's go ahead and get the translation of that. Okay, and LOTRO points, what some people call LOTRO points. Nope. We're going to go ahead and grab that. Okay, so 1666. That's what we're expecting there. So if key equals that, 166, otherwise if key equals LOTRO points, 254, 2540, okay. Else, key is coming from whatever is calling get currency. Okay. Check all callers of get currency. Harmless asks, is the streamer a game dev? And Telerian has answered, no, he's just an enthusiastic plugins coder. It is true, I do not work for Standing Stone Games, but I really enjoy playing Lord of the Rings Online, and I really enjoy making plugins, or in this case, adapting an existing plugin, TitanBar, to give it new features. So in my day-to-day job, I am a software engineer, but not as a game dev. Okay. But my day job does not involve me writing in Lua, so I definitely struggle sometimes to remember what I'm doing in that language. I want to thank you. Little Redhead has posted today's schedule. I am B4, or in longer B4 and 42562. Harmless asks in chat, can you please make a mod for UI for LOTRO? I need 4K support. Well, I have good news and bad news for you. The bad news is plugins don't have a lot of ability to change how things are laid out. So for instance, if things look really small on your screen, there's not a lot a plugin can do. But the good news is Standing Stone Games understands that a lot of people have 4K monitors and are looking for 4K support. So that is something that they are working on behind the scenes. Let's see, was that actually on their roadmap for this year, or is that just one of their aspirational things that they are working on? Fourth profession added, well, they certainly did that. Additional hobby, done. Okay, it is not explicitly on their roadmap, but it is something that they have announced that is something that they are working on doing, I believe. I don't think they've announced any sort of an release date for it, but they are aware of people who want it. Several of them have 4K monitors and want it, and so it is outside of what plugins can do. It's probably outside of what skins can do. Harmless thinks that back in 2019 they announced it. I think what you're referring to is an investor presentation by a grandparent company of SSG, but that wasn't an official timetable by the makers of Lord of the Rings Online, Standing Stone Games. So they are more actively working on it now. I don't think we had any knowledge of them working on it back in 2019. There's no release date on it, but we have heard, I think, that there are plans in the works. SSG tries not to give release dates for things unless they are pretty close to being done. So we'll be keeping our ear out for that one. Although I only have 1K monitors. One thing you can do is, of course, is change the resolution of your monitors to act as if they are 1K monitors, and then the game will. It will not be as large and pretty as on your monitor, but the text will be legible. If you haven't seen it already, there are some in-game things that you can do. Check out the font scale size buttons on these dialogues. For instance, down here, you can at least blow the text up a little bit. That could help in some of these screens, of course, only for those screens where you can change the text size. I think the last thing I heard, which was in the last couple of months, was what it sounded like was that they were not going to necessarily redo all of the elements in game, all of these 32 by 32 icons, but they were going to scale it up in some fashion so that it was at least playable at 4K, if not natively rendered at multiple hundreds of pixels per icon. like I said, I don't have any insider knowledge on it. This is just something I remember from a live stream in the last couple of months, I think, assuming I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, there are some things you can do on your end, Harmless, I think, to just downsize the resolution of your monitor and play it at 1K, and you'll have a pretty good experience. But yes, that change is coming. So Tellurian, it is certainly one option to re-render each icon, but they could definitely, as a stopgap, just scale up the icon, and it won't look as good as if it was re-rendered from scratch, but it would get, it would bypass the need to re-render tens of thousands of icons until later. So they could definitely do that as a stopgap solution. The big problem for, I assume, the big problem for a lot of 4K players is the ability to read text that has suddenly become very tiny. Harmless says, you never ever, you're not going to do it 1K, you tried 2K and it was fine. Well, yeah, I mean, if the game's playable on your machine at 2K, then that's definitely a thing you can do until 4K is supported. Unfortunately, plugins don't have a lot of ability to do that. Plugins are limited based off of what fonts are kind of baked into the game for what font sizes are available to them. And those kind of match the fonts over here. So the fonts, the sizes that you can see in game here, that's kind of representative of what plugins have available to them. And if they want to do anything more than that, then they're doing what you used to do, which is just pasting pictures of letters in place. And that is nightmarish, and I'm very glad we don't have to do that. Okay, so we're going to check all the colors of Get Currency, but as long as they are passing in the right thing, we're good. So player currency key, great. And then finally, showing the table of player currency, that's fine. Okay. And then player currency handler, let's go take a look at that. So it should be indexed by the call to get currency key. Get currency key, great. Here as well. And remove, we have get currency key, and then we're using that in these two places as well. Update currency, yeah. That key needs to be a string or an integer. Is that the right way to write that? Semicolon? Comma, no. Apparently the question mark applies for the whole thing. Nice. Except I wrote it in the wrong place. Awesome. Really? Yeah. Key, string, or number. Get currency. Okay, so yes, where were we? Get currency key, great. Here, get currency key, and here, get currency key, great. Key, and then here, destiny points is a valid thing to have. Here as well, and then key, we're back and get currency. Okay, so we're going to check all colors of Get Currency, and then we should be good to go. Harmless asks, what programming language? They ask, are you fit in? I'm uncertain if that's a translation thing or if I'm understanding correctly, but what we're currently doing is programming in Lua, which is a well-known scripting language. If you want to know more information about that, it is at lua.org. And in my day job, I program in languages like C#, C++, and so on. Okay, all calls of Get Currency. There is one call of Get Currency, apparently. No, here it is. Okay. So get currency, this is called by key, okay, which is, okay, we're going to check update currency. And then here, get currency image number, that's a problem. Okay, so this is coming from menu item. Menu item is these things. Okay. Once these are updated, need to change similar to the V10 to V1, V20 table. Okay, so once these are done, menu item will be giving us the thing that we need, and then therefore this, except we can't assume that that's a number. Instead, get currency is there a reason I care about it being a number? If it's always going to be a string, maybe the lookup table treats it like a string instead of a number. I don't like storing strings when I can store numbers, but given that this could be a string or a number, let's make a to-do item on that. Convert image, no, item ID. Wait. I'm uncertain if changing it to a string will negatively impact us in some way. I'm concerned about if something has like decimal values like the keys in that file and we try to compare it. Whereas if we're treating it as integer and integer, yeah, okay. So I think that's not currently a thing I want to worry about. But this right here, if we get rid of that, and in get currency, we say if is number, no, this is one of those places where I'll have to double check. Lua check if variable is number. Type. Excellent. If type of key equals number, then no, because I did a to number call on it. Okay, local as number equals to number key, which is going to be tries to convert its argument to number if the argument is already number or a string convertible number, then it returns a number, otherwise it returns fail. What on earth is fail? So, as number, if as number, so if it was convertible to number, then key equals as number. Cool. Otherwise, key is just going to be whatever key was, which will still support strings. Okay. So where it was getting called, we're getting that menu item value here. And again, menu item, I need that to go away anyway, so I think this is a shorter term solution anyway. Okay, so get currency, we're looking for calls to update currency then. So let's look at update currency. So this key, we need it to be correct. So update currency key, that's coming from get currency key. This key, awesome. This key, get currency key, okay. And then update currency value, what is value? We are in import control, oof. I think the point of this is we've already done everything else it could be. And at the end of, at the end of it, we've just spilled out into a place where it couldn't be anything else. My concern is that eventually we might want to support multiple things. But I think we're not there right now. So, value, we don't need it to be a number. It could be a string. Okay. We'll just get rid of that. Check. If we're here, it must be a currency. Okay, this key is get currency key, and destiny points is a valid thing to come from that function. Okay, so we have checked for all of that, which I think means we're ready to reload this and see what errors I've made. It's taking it long enough that I think it's loading. Okay, it is loaded. Things are still working pretty well. So if we were to unload this, and if we were to delete our save file, so what we're doing is online, plugin data, here we are, Treebeard, Affodil, and actually I'm curious if in my save files, nope, plugin along, saved stuff. I'm curious if this everything yeah, okay, that one is the old style. So we can use this in place of this. So let's go ahead and fail to delete that file because we still have it open somewhere. Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and copy over from an older version. And we're just going to see if that still works. It might actually not. Fascinating. Now we can see the version 1011 thing is still weird. Oh, right. I needed to update this. You know, everything's already 1.1. All right, we're gonna fix that. Okay, this is something that needs to be there. All right, we're going to copy that into a Sublime Text buffer so that we can manipulate it. Yep, we can see this needs to happen. Okay, so what we want to do is go ahead and multi-edit this. So that can be used in place. So there's Destiny, Shard, Skirmish, Mithril, Yule, Hitbolt, Medallion, Seals, Commendations, Lotro, Amroth, Stars, Central, Gift, Bingo, Anniversary, Emotes, Emperor's Figment, Fall, Farmer, Spring, Midsummer, Ancient Script, Bad Batch. Okay, so we are in a place to swap those in. Okay. In functions, we want to go ahead and get rid of that. And is that enough? Uncertain. Let's go ahead and make sure we saved everything though. File, save all, and TitanBar. Okay, so we're definitely getting a brand new save file. Why is that? Well, let's go ahead and activate the wallet. Yeah, there we go. Attempt to get a link to the global menu item, a nil value. Okay, why is that? Attempt to call reset tooltip. Well, that's weird. Okay, that's in functions. What? Oh, that's bonkers. Okay, let's just delete the save file here. And again, I'm doing that because I have backups. Try not to mess with your plugin data unless you have backups. Okay, so we just have a brand new from scratch. Okay, so wallet. Let's turn off everything else for a minute. And go ahead and say on TitanBar show. Okay. The image isn't great, but everything else is fine. I actually don't know how many accommodations I have. Okay. Destiny points. Yep, that's fine. And we'll add modes of enchantment. Figments of Splendor. Okay. It's appearing that I've definitely broken something. That's fine. So we're going to go ahead and unload everything, load it back in, See what happens. Awesome. Okay, so these are your motes, figments, and embers. So we're making progress. And we've actually reached... Oh, I kind of hate to leave it in a broken state, but we have reached well past the normal breaking point of my stream. So while I contemplate what went wrong specifically here, we're going to go ahead and bring the stream to a close. Now's a great time to get any last-minute questions, comments, concerns into chat. Well, I try to figure out what I broke and where. I think I'm going to come on down to this functions that we did here and say get currency key. Okay, so we're just going to get an output from get currency key here, just to give us a sense of what's going on here. Attempt to concatenate result a nil value. Yeah, that'll do it. Dump that. All right, so that's definitely a problem. Oh no, wallet item's there. Gotta get the name first. Yeah, there we go. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so these lookups aren't working. But actually, is it a problem if they're not working? We need to be able to account for it if we don't have the ID. This is acting... Okay, so we have an edge case here. Okay. Current broken state. It looks like we have an edge case where the get currency key isn't finding an item. We need to handle this first because it's the same state as if there's something in the wallet we don't know about. Then fix the lookup to actually find the item ID. All right, we're going to move all of this up to the top. Okay. So that's where we're at with this. Certainly some frustration in the fact that my original design was just off the mark in what we could use as a unique identifier. I was hoping the image ID would work, but there's just too much duplication of image ID to uniquely identify an item. We saw that there were a few names that were the same, but we manually resolved those duplicate issues. And that could come back to bite us a little bit in future things, but I suspect as time goes on, SSG's gotten a little bit better about duplicate names as they've evolved their system. So that's my hope there. But I think we're almost to the point where we'll be able to adapt to items that TitanBar doesn't know about, which we're revealing the problem here, and fix the logic from this thing. So I think once we do that 1-2 fix, we'll be in a really good state where we will be using item IDs where possible, wallet names where necessary. And that puts us in a really good state because at that point we can continue moving forward. So that's where we'll pick up next time. I don't see any last minute questions or comments in chat there. So that is all we are going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I do hope to see you here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.